Hey, what's up, everyone? This is MRW Talks MJ. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about the legendary MJ, Michael Jordan. So I actually grew up in Chicago, right? And well, let's go back some. Recently, Michael Jordan came out, the owner of the Bobcats, Charlotte Bobcats, came out and spoke out against all of the police violence, right? The shootings, blacks getting killed, and now, like, recently in the past couple of weeks, police have been killed. And, I'm talking about the incident in Dallas. And what bothers me is that, well, first of all, I like that he's coming out because he is one of my role models, right? I grew up watching him, so he's coming out, he's speaking out against it. I know that he said that he could not hold his silence anymore, and that's admirable. Except, growing in Chicago, there has always been violence, right? People, young black kids getting shot in the streets. Police have been injured, shot in Chicago. So why the change of heart? Why speak out now? Where were you back in the 90s, right? You could have spoken out. You could have said something then, right? I know that his role as a professional athlete, and I know that sometimes we tend to forget that, basketball players and football players and baseball players, they're not just gods, but they're people, all right? They're people, first and foremost. And so the reason why we admire them is because they do something that we see others do every day, playing baseball, basketball out there on the court and field, but they do it on a much higher level. And we just, it is hard to believe that anyone can do something to do anything like that so well, right? And so we say, well, they must have a higher degree of thought, right? A higher degree of thought and ethics. And I'm not saying that MJ or a lot of athletes are unethical, but there's something to be said about, this is 2016, and back in the 90s, growing up, and I'm sure that anyone who has grown up in a city, like Baltimore, New York, can relate to this. So even like Los Angeles, right? Detroit, even. Anyone that has grown up in a major American city knows that violence, it's there. People die. Young kids die. Police officers get injured. Some die, right? So something could have been said back in the 90s, especially when the championships were being won. I'm just really curious as to what prompted MJ to say something now, right? Like what prompted him to say something now? Even last year, at the height, when we still haven't hit a decline, because we still hear about the violence, right? The young people that are getting like shot, just gunned down, and without a good enough reason, right? But even this going back to the 90s, when the titles were being won, something like some sort of political stand could have been taken then. And I remember, like, growing up in Chicago where, there were people in the media clamoring for MJ to speak out against certain issues that were affecting the city. And, I get used to it. In some ways, I was okay with it because I knew that, he's an athlete. And an athlete's job, ultimately is to entertain us. It is to entertain us, right? It is to make us forget about the problems in our lives, the jobs that we go to that we don't like, the schools that we go to, the schools that are just boring, or like anything else that just isn't fulfilling, All right, their job is to make us forget about that, and I get that. I was okay with that, even though there were kids that I went to school with who got gunned down for their Jordans too. I remember when that was a big deal growing up in Chicago, and again, like no one, not Nike, no one spoke out against that. No one said anything about that, right? Something needs to be done. I get why he spoke out. I mean, when you look at other NBA players that are stepping up and saying something, how a lot of professional athletes are using their stardom as a platform to speak out against social issues. Maybe this is a move in the right direction, right? Maybe we need the legends. We need the legends of tomorrow to come out and just to speak out against it. So let me know what you think. Post your comments and questions below.